So, as I just said in my opening remarks, you, Paris, have said that Nashville's a film you watch every year. Can you talk about why this film has had such an impact on you and why you find it helpful to revisit?
Okay, so the first time I saw this film, I was 19. And that's, a very good year to be 19, 1975. Jaws had just come out, we're just past The Godfather. It was kind of an urgent and emerging time when film was breaking all the rules, and we were delighted in it. There was this Vietnam War thing happening, there were some issues with the president, Richard Nixon resigning, and then there's Nashville. And suddenly, I saw a film that was about America while pretending to be about one city in America, while pretending to be about these 24 people over 5 days and their experiences. It ends up being so much more. I've never seen a film that didn't have a plot, that actually was a major motion picture. And this film arguably doesn't have a plot. It has a story. So if you're looking for a plot, you may not find it. But if you're looking for a story, there's plenty. I think I have a quote from Roger Ebert, which really sums up how I felt about it after I first saw it. He said, "After I saw it, I felt more alive. I felt I understood more about people. I felt somehow wiser. It's that good a movie." So I keep coming back to it, and as times change and our political climate changes, I find a different movie. I reflect on what's going on in the world today, as I think you will now, because I don't know if you've noticed, there's a lot going on in the world today. And I think you'll find somehow in 1975, this film comments on that as well. And sadly, one of the biggest commentaries that resonates with me over and over again is that we don't learn anything from the past. Bad things happen, things change, and we basically sing the song and move on. And that some people find that very bleak in Robert Altman's Nashville, and I actually find that oddly reassuring because he sees us. He sees who we are, and he sees our really inability to grapple with some of the most difficult questions. And in 1975, that's the kind of movie I wanted to see. I didn't want to see a movie that gave me all the answers. I wanted to see a movie that engaged me and made me question what was going on and made me excited to be alive, and that's Nashville.
So just to follow on that, this, as I mentioned to the audience, this kicks off our Revisiting the Classics series. Although, actually, when I invited Paris, it was for films I love, but, categories. Could you tell us a little bit more about why you consider Nashville a classic? What makes it a film that has stood the test of time?
Well, I don't like the word classic in particular, but it is, a lot of people consider it great. It's on the AFI list, it's on Entertainment Weekly, it's on Time, it's in the National Registry of Motion Pictures. It's universally, almost universally liked, but it's a very confusing movie. So those of you who haven't seen it before, you may be slightly confused because it seems like a country western musical, a political campaign story, an assassination thriller, a weird comedy, sometimes a very bleak comedy. But it ends up, and I have a quote from another critic that I think really defines it, it ends up being an x-ray of the era's uneasy soul. And I love that description. It ends up being an x-ray of the era's uneasy soul. So for those of you who weren't there, when this movie was made in 1974, Nixon was doing the Watergate thing, which I'm sure you've heard about. And while they were making the movie, Nixon resigned. And the movie came out in 1975, but it was set in 1976, when the next presidential election would come. So all of these things that are happening in the movie were happening around the end of Nixon and during the presidency of Gerald Ford, and basically transcended what was to be, which is the presidency of Jimmy Carter. So in this short period of time, America was juggling through all these opposites and all these different political values and all the unrest that came out at the end of the Vietnam War. So it's like totally a movie born in chaos. And while it doesn't seem to have been written, actually, Joan Tewksbury wrote an original script that had 16 of the 24 characters in it. So then they were cast, usually by people that Altman knew. Altman invented 8 more of the characters that you see, and they largely had to do with the political story that then becomes a sort of engine through it. And now you have 24 people just living their lives over 5 days in Nashville. And they decided not to have a traditional plot. You would just experience life as they experienced it, and the music would just keep it going. So for me, as a storyteller, I thought this is I mean, I was really writing musical theater at that time and really involved with music. This is a godsend for me. It's a story that has, of its 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 1 hour is just music. All of it is performed live. No one is singing to a pre-recorded track. Most of the performers who sing these songs, and there are 25 songs in it, wrote the songs themselves. Altman said, here's your character, now you're going to write this song for this point in the story. So what you're going to see are not only the performers performing the music, but performing their own music that they created to express what their character was going through. So that is highly unusual. It's a way of driving music through the whole story. The whole thing is crazy. This movie is insane. It was shot in 7 weeks for $2.2 million, and yet almost 50 years later, you'll see it still contains relevant shit that makes me absolutely wild to watch it again.
So could you tell us, if this is a film that has inspired you, how it has affected your own work? And also maybe a little bit about its kind of televisual. It's cinematic.
Yeah, it was actually funded by ABC, which is a little known story. ABC was the only people who would give Altman money at that time, apparently. I mean, he had made MASH and a couple of other movies that actually are still around today, but he was not exactly the most bankable director in Hollywood because he's tended to create chaos in order to create movies. Now, I personally don't do that stylistically, but what I learned from him is that he appears to be an auteur who is controlling everything, but actually he's the ultimate collaborator. Whereas I said, he's giving everyone so much license and so much freedom and worrying about how it will come together later. That has infused my style. When I do a show like The West Wing or ER or The Shield, which are really ensemble dramas that have a debt to Altman's style, although now they're much more rigid, I do want to give the actors the freedom to express their character. The actors on an ongoing series know that character better than I ever will. They've said every line that character has ever said, and I've just come in to go on an adventure with them for 3 weeks. So I do like to give them that freedom, and I do like to look at the way he stages people. There are scenes in this movie that Altman has staged. I believe he says there are 3. All the other scenes are what happened when the actors were in the room and they said the dialogue or they made up the dialogue, and then it was filmed. So it has a documentary feel because actually it was just documenting the behavior of these actors as their characters, which I absolutely love. So I've always tried to get back to that, not tell everyone where to go like it's a play and it has to be replicated every day. Let's let people live as the characters in the moment, and then I will figure out a way to film it. Let me do that later. So, I mean, that's what really, how it's changed the way that I work.
Well, but last question before we watch, and remember, we will come back after the film if you, and hope you will stay after the film to answer and raise more questions after you've seen it.
I'm really curious, though, before we go, how many people have seen the movie already? Okay, so that looks like, less than half. And how many people have never seen this movie? Oh, that's most of the audience.
So what would you tell what would you tell people to look for those who are experiencing the film for the first time? Are there any kinds of elements that you'd suggest that they watch for?
Well, okay, just a few things. You will rarely see a movie where women are at the fore like this one. And that is another thing in the 70s that was really arresting, because the 70s is still very male-driven in the movies world. In this movie, the women shine. And of the 2 Oscar nominations it got for acting, Ronnie Blakely and Lily Tomlin, who you may know now, Lily Tomlin, in her first role in a motion picture, got an Oscar nomination for this movie. And it tells not a single joke, by the way. I don't think there is a single joke that Lily Tomlin tells. So she's not relying on her comedy chops to do that. Those 2 performances hold the movie together in an amazing way, even though they're just part of the ensemble. So I'd say watch out for the women. And it's going to be a thriller, so you have to stay. You have to make the commitment to these characters, because the last 12 minutes of it, shit's going to happen that's going to change what has happened. Those of you who've seen the movie know what I'm talking about. So it's important that you make the commitment. The other thing I do is just find out who you like and follow them. They'll keep reappearing. You'll see Jeff Goldblum on a 3-wheel bike driving through. What's he doing? You'll see Shelley Duvall in different people's laps at different times, crossing over. You'll see all sorts of weird shit happening. Just let it sort of absorb over you and follow who you love. Joan Tewksbury did say one great thing about this movie. She said there are 24 characters on the screen, but there is a 25th. And the 25th character is you. meaning the audience. You are actually making this movie in your individual reaction to everything that happens to these people. That's what Altman wanted to do. He didn't want to tell you what to think or tell you who the star is or tell you what the trip is. He said, here's the trip, and you decide which way you want to go on it. It's really like a video game where you choose your own adventure in a certain way. They will all end up at the end of the movie, so don't worry. Whoever you decide is the one you love and the ride you're taking, they're going to show up at the end of the movie. They'll come back together again, but you have to play your part as the 25th character in Nashville. And I'm going to be very curious to see what you think after it's done, when we can talk more about its secrets.
Okay, well, thank you very much for sharing with
Sure.
us.